Hello, and welcome to this after church tea time. I'm Noreen. I am joined by Hannah and Rachel, and today we're going to talk a little bit about this Sunday service and sermon by Jason and Chrissy on letting go of protection and blame. It was a really juicy sermon. There's lots to talk about. And yeah, I just wondered if one of you had opening thoughts about what the sermon was about and how it made you feel.
Yeah, well, it was an excellent talk. I think I'll definitely be going back and watching it again because there was so much good stuff in it. We can't be reminded too much to not project our upsets onto our twin flame, other people, because it's what we're used to doing. It's a question of taking responsibility for our upsets and then working through them. And there's a difference between responsibility and blame. It's not that it's anyone's fault. It's not about blaming yourself for having upsets. I mean, we've all made choices of separation over the years, over the lifetimes. And at the time, we may have had some very good reasons to make those fear-based choices. Maybe we thought that was the only option that we had, or maybe we were in a really bad situation. So it's not about getting down on yourself either. It's just acknowledging the upset, accepting it, and putting love there again and again and again until it's healed through completely.
Yes, I completely agree with everything you said there. It was a beautiful sermon. I loved the initial card reading. What came through for me was just the fact that we're never meant to walk this journey alone, and that we have so much support with the community and with the Church of Union and TFU and everyone that's there for us. And when it comes to projection and blame through these teachings, it's so clear that when you choose to blame your twin flame or blame anybody else, you're only blaming yourself and causing yourself more pain and upset, and kind of sticking in that pattern that, like you said, we've been kind of raised with, because without realizing, we are able to heal on the inside. And so, yeah, I found that it was really nice to hear them, go over the basics again and kind of restate that. And for me, it's definitely helpful to confirm that, and to know, if I blame my twin flame for something, it's just blaming and hurting myself, and it's not necessary. I don't have to make that choice, and I can make a new one to go inside and to heal it instead.
Yeah, I really like how the past sermons, like the sermons from the past few weeks, especially the ones from Jason and Chrissy, were about going back to the basics and actually making us understand deeper how things work on that level. And I also really liked the meditation and card reading, actually. And I feel like it's really good to have that community to rest upon and to share. And I definitely feel that I wouldn't be able to do as much as I do every day or ground and relax so much if I didn't have a community. And it's really, I'm really grateful that God called Jeff and Shaleia to create that space, that kind of safe space. And I feel like it can be an extension of that safe space that Jason and Chrissy were inviting us to create inside. I really liked on Blame and Projection that they talked about how going inwards and doing the inner work creates that trust with yourself. And I thought that was huge, like how important this is to create that, you create so much trust and love that you love yourself inside. Your inner child is grateful for you, and you just feel like, yeah, you're this powerful being. I think it's really important to like shift consciousness towards this, because it makes us feel powerful. And I feel like, as you said, Hannah, it's really like healing, and definitely different from what we experience in childhood, because I think a lot of the culture is based around blame and projection, and being a victim, or being taken, your power being taken away from you. And I really liked how they reminded us, like, over and over again, that no one or nothing has the ability to make you feel any sort of way inside. You make that choice. It's really important to me, because I feel like in childhood, one of my traumas was like, because of injustice, I felt powerless. And I feel like even like in just situations do not have the power to make me feel any sort of way. And in that, I take my power back, and I'm able to be happy and build my foundation and build my happiness and build myself with God amidst like all that happens. And that life never stops, it keeps on growing and giving to me, because I give to myself. I feel it was really important. And as Jason said, like, I feel like it's a huge cultural shift, like every step of the way. It's you turn every stone, and you really like have to really give yourself compassion, because it's not that easy to like be willing to change on every single thing all the time. And as Kenisha and Christy said, like, the journey is not easy, but like if you never give up, like, it's gonna pay always, and it's gonna get easier. But yeah, it's like, I think this topic is huge, and it helps us realize how important and how like mind-blowing and mind-shifting the work that we're doing here actually is. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think it puts everything into perspective for me.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot there. I think I'd have to take a little while to process just what you said just now. But I want to focus on the going back to basics, because it doesn't matter how advanced you are. It always feels so good to go back to basics. And it's so important as well. And I'm going to talk about my Wing Chun Kung Fu Club. I always refer to them, because what he said, it applies to the twin flame journey perfectly. It's like, don't ever stop working on the foundation. Because like with your twin flame union, you're building a palace. And the foundation, you have to dig down. It's got messy parts. There's mud, there's sewage pipes, but your fireplace and wallpaper won't last very long if you don't have the foundation. So yeah, always go back to the basics. And I had a revelation myself in the summer about a pattern that I had, or where I'd been hurting myself by depriving myself of love. I wasn't loving myself enough, so I call it that pattern. Like in Kung Fu Club, we refer to that drill. Oh, it's that, and everything that's come up since then has had its roots in this pattern of depriving myself of love, because I was cross with my twin flame for the way he behaved, and I was depriving myself of love. I was depriving him of love, some sort of punishment, and that's why he'd be looking every time I saw him really, really unhappy. And I had this revelation and started to go deeper there, and then he mirrored something very painful for me, which made me go, vroom, like deep. Yeah, I haven't been loving myself enough. I mentioned this before, I had quite a bit of resistance to doing the mirror exercise. I haven't been writing it out nearly enough. I am now, a lot. And what I've noticed, it's coming internally first, of course, like just massive growth, massive expansion. So we'll see where it leads now we're in 2023.
Yeah, I would love to talk more about the cultural shift that we're all part of, and I think it's so beautiful to realize the gravity of that, and it's also for me really grounding to accept that and to know like, oh, it's okay that this is hard and that there's resistance sometimes, because of course there's going to be, because we're really creating a whole new way of being for the whole planet and for those to come after us. And so it's nice to know that while the work is so healing and so beautiful and so many magical moments happen along with it, that feeling, the hard feelings, is so worth it. And I would never ever want to go back to numbing out or not feeling how I feel. And it's such a, like, I think they said this at one point in the sermon this week, but that the past, and or maybe I was actually thinking of this today, and I was reading A Course in Miracles, and they said something about how the past is just an illusion. And so, like, to think about the past, it truly is such a different world and a different life. And to recognize that, like, while this work is it's challenging, it's so rewarding. And to accept responsibility and to decide to choose to not blame and not project is the most rewarding thing in the world, because it only brings you closer to God, brings you closer to your twin flame, brings you closer to yourself. And the other way of projection, it's choosing to kind of not be close with yourself, not be close with your twin flame, because you're deciding not to unconditionally love in that space and love yourself in that space. And so, yeah, I loved how they touched on that, and it gave me a lot of peace to once again realize, this work is so profound and massive, and like the cultural change it's bringing just by doing our own mirror exercises every day is just changing the world in such profound ways. And yeah, and simply by accepting responsibility for how I feel, yeah, it not only changes my life, but it's going to change the vibration of my whole city eventually, and once it gets out there. And I think it's really powerful, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I feel it's so, as it was said in I don't know if it was the first quote or the last, like, it's so freeing actually to know that you have the power to change all of that in yourself and outside and attract everything that you desire. It's huge, because like, how miserable we would be if we were still in that consciousness of, oh, my twin flame is unhealed and I have to wait for him to choose something else. Like, no, actually, he chooses as we choose. And it's like, yeah, it's powerful. I don't have to wait. Finally, I have something to do. I have a life to build, a relationship with God, and how important it is to just realize that it's just like our mirror, and that it's better to not resent anything, especially not ourselves, for like the mirror that we are presented with, and just like get down to work, and that the inner work is work actually, and that it can be intense, and that we're doing everything in our power to just have a better life. And yeah, I think it's really beautiful, and I quite like that, because I think I would be miserable wanted to wait for someone, wait for my relationships to get better, or wait for my life to get better. Always wait, you know. And I want to take back the book. I have the old version, but I wanted to reread like the second quote that Chrissy read, because it was like so good in my opinion. So it was, projection occurs when you come from a place of lack within yourself and create a situation where you attempt to have what you feel lacking fulfilled in something or someone outside of yourself, rather than going to love, God, and getting it from there. Happiness and joy never come later when you have something. It's a choice and a realization you can only have now inside of yourself. It's so good. And I think I recently realized how I was waiting, and how I was brought up to always wait for a better future or better circumstances, and work towards a meaningless end, instead of like grabbing life by the horns and just going for what I feel is the best. And I always had that desire of like going for my happiness, but I didn't have the tools to do that. I didn't know how to do that. And yeah, I think this work is like really miraculous in that sense. And I realized also recently how, I guess what made me project on my twin flame was feeling like he had things that I didn't have, you know, and yeah, basically what I was lacking, like in power and safety and comfort and nurturing, all these things that touch you deeply when you grow up, and all these places where you need love. And so I really like to make lists right now, list of like what it is that I feel upset about in my twin flame or someone else, what it is that I feel lacking in myself and that I feel that they have, and just give love to myself in all these places until I feel so much better and so much more powerful and so much more energized, and it feels like every day I can claim my future more, you know, that I'm empowered by God and by myself to be a better person for myself, actually, and realizing that it is possible to be a better person for myself, and that it naturally attracts everything that I desire, as they said in the sermon. Like, it gives me, it's like you know, it's like a reward. It's like it keeps on giving. Like, you do this for yourself, you get results. It gives you energy to give even more to yourself, and then get results. You know what I mean? It's like I guess it's like a miracle that is always unfolding, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. What was I going to say? Yeah, I think it's very important to reiterate. We've said that the journey isn't easy, but you can choose for it to be easy. It doesn't have to be harder than it has to be. Choosing for it to be easy doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges, but you'll be able to move through them swiftly and peacefully. And yeah, it is a complete lifestyle change. So every area of your life, you're constantly refreshing, renewing the energy there. And just finding all the places where you still haven't loved yourself. Because some of these places in consciousness, they might have been unloved for a long time, they may have been stuffed down and forgotten. And when we find those places, we may need to love ourselves there very consistently. If it seems like it's not shifting, persistence. It will dissolve if you persist enough. If it's a long-standing pattern, that's okay. It doesn't mean it can't be healed. Potentially instantly.
Yeah, I think you touched on a great point there with like the second you accept responsibility for your feelings, you recognize the power to be able to instantly heal it and instantly change your life. And yeah, when you let go of blame and projection and just like fiercely take responsibility for your life and choose to see things for as they are instead of maybe as you wish they would be, it gives you more opportunities to heal and to actually create the reality that you desire and that's in your heart and that God's placed for you to live. And yeah, I love the quote. I definitely am somebody who in the past and before starting my spiritual journey was seeking for love outside of myself and um, searching and um, trying a lot of different things to fulfill the role of God. And I had thought because I was raised Catholic and went through confirmation and had a pretty good believed in Jesus and all of these things, I kind of thought I was safe and I was good and like that's all I needed to do. But I wasn't happy and I wasn't happy seeking outside myself at all, but I just didn't have another way. I didn't know another way. And so I really had to choose first to go to God and surrender to him, and then to follow my heart every step of the way, and to keep going, like you said, to keep persisting and to not allow fear or what other people had maybe said or thought about me or what I was doing on my journey to get in the way, and to just know in my heart, like God called me to do something. And I don't know where I'm going right now, but I know it's going to be better than where I was. And I'm following my heart, and that's all that matters. And it led me straight to the teachings and to my twin flame. And so God has never let me down. And yeah, like we really can instantly heal our lives and heal any aspect of our reality as soon as we accept the responsibility for our reality and to accept our power as creators, which is so profound in general. And to have that awareness, it's incredible, and not everyone on the planet has that awareness. And so it's truly a gift and a privilege to be aware of it, and to be able to accept responsibility for myself and for my past choices and for the times when I was seeking outside, and to have compassion for that version of me, and to send love to her even now, and to feel proud of her for going as far as she's gone and for making it this far and making it here, and to never give up, because yeah, it only gets better, really. Like the more you accept where I've like done wrong, or where I've wrong or just made a choice that wasn't loving, like the more I just accept that and forgive myself and have compassion for myself, the more love that is allowed to pour into my life, and the more love that I keep experiencing. So it's a beautiful journey. It's like it's a wavy journey for sure, with ups and downs and like you said, challenges. But yeah, I choose for it to be easy. That's a great point. And yeah, I choose to have just ease within every experience, whether it's an upset or if I'm projecting. I just choose to accept that and to heal it as soon as possible, and only continue to heal and grow.
Yeah, amen to that. I feel like you touched on several things that were interesting, I guess. First of all, like about blaming yourself, like I feel it touches on one of 8 keys of harmonious union, forgiveness. And I feel like the sermon on blaming projection was also saying like no one has the power to make you feel like you're blamed except you. And so that guilt, that blame, you must let go of it inside of yourself too, because God knows I'm very like hard on myself sometimes, and I feel like I'm coming to a place where I feel like I'm finally healing that and letting go of like self-judgment and blame. But yeah, I feel like that's also another thing that society teaches us. It's like to be hard, to hustle, like to toughen up. And actually bravery and persistence, like another key of harmonious union, it doesn't really come from that. It comes from really choosing peace and love and being open and vulnerable at the core, actually. And that is the brave choice. And I think what you're both speaking to is that the journey is about always making a choice, even when it's not easy, and definitely when it's not easy, I would say. And we have to be brave enough to recognize that you have a responsibility for everything in your life, for yourself, not for others or circumstances outside of you, but how you feel and how your life manifests. And so you must go through these choices, and like it's definitely challenging, but you can definitely make the choice to have it easy, and to recognize that if you start now by a small choice to go through the challenge, even when it's not easy, even when you want to stay in bed or like give up, it will make a change. Like it definitely will make a change. And it's not insignificant, because at the core, you're choosing yourself and you're choosing God. And there's nothing small about that. And there's nothing small about being divine and recognizing that you're divine. There's nothing small about this journey. And I feel like a lot of people maybe stay on blame and projection in the world because they think they're small, or that life is meaningless, that it's going to end anyway. But there's really nothing small about life. And once you realize that, you realize that every part of your life was meant to serve a purpose, that God made it so that it serves you. And if it doesn't serve you, then it's a lesson. And then you need to let go of the things that didn't serve you. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. But I really feel like the deep impact of that realization inside of me. And I would say that it's easy sometimes to get caught up in the challenges, in the difficult, dark times. I feel like you're very small and meaningless and you're bad, but it's not about that. And it's never true that you're not a bad person. You're perfect and you're divine and you're going to make it through. And I feel like the journey is even more beautiful because it tells us about the end, you know. There is nothing. It's rare to see something in the world that tells you about the end and saying that you're going to get everything that you want, your one true love and your perfect life and your desires and your purpose, and you're going to be safe and wealthy and you'll be able to provide for yourself. And having that reassurance, obviously it makes you keep going. But it's definitely a light in these dark times too.
Yeah, you have to move through everything that's presented to you. This is where some people might not complete the journey because they come up against something within them that they don't want to confront. But there comes a point where you can't run anymore. You either move through it or you don't. But it's okay. God will give you the pieces in the correct order and in the most compassionate way. So all you have to do is allow God to guide you. And that brings us back to the mirror exercise. because it's worth mentioning that it's really important to do the mirror exercise on the little things, the everyday things, like if someone shouts at you in traffic or something. There are things that seem unrelated to your journey. Everything's related to your journey. Because if, say, someone shouts at you and you mirror that, then that becomes a wonderful gift where that person has actually brought you huge amounts of self-love and acceptance, for example. Yeah, and so if you do the mirror exercise on everything that bothers you, then that is really how it is to deepen your communication with God in every moment. What I wanted to say.
That is so true. And that's just reminds me of, I think like 2 weeks ago, I did the mirror exercise on something little. Like I dumped out my tuna salad, like a whole jar of tuna salad. I dumped into the trash on mistake because I was trying to pour the oil out of it. And so I mirrored it like right away because like you said, every part of our reality is something like we can mirror. And so I just realized like, I was able to heal the piece of me that was just dumping myself out and like kind of leaking my energy. And that's what I came to the conclusion of with it. But it's so true. Like every part of our reality, no matter how small it is, like there's no reason to, like, I could have been upset about that all afternoon and just, stewed or something. But I just was grateful to have that piece that I could have healed. And like, yeah, the tuna salad would have been delicious, but also like the healing was great. And I was happy to have been shown that little piece. And yeah, and I think you just said something about life isn't small, and it just instantly had me thinking like, yeah, we're eternal beings. And I love how this work teaches that and teaches how we really are eternal and how we're not going anywhere, and how there's no reason to hold on to projection and blame and just wait until we die and are upset and then come back to have to heal it then. It's like, might as well heal it now, and to be, find that peace. Why not find that peace now? There's no reason to wait. And we're also worthy and divine and powerful. And yeah, just to have that, like you said, to have that end in mind, and for this work and the teachings of unions to bring you the full picture of, life and death and what it all really means, and that we don't even have to choose death. We can choose life and choose to heal and live and be an eternal being. It's so powerful. And yeah, it definitely it's taking me some time to really ground into that truth, and I'm still obviously grounding into it, but it's nice to have that awareness and to know like what I'm working for. It's not something that is going anywhere. It's like you guys have said, we're all building our foundation for heaven on earth, and with each mirror exercise, we're just adding another brick to it. And it's really nice to know that no matter if I die or not, it's like my vibration is going to be carried with me throughout all of eternity, and I can continue to work on my vibration and hone it and perfect it, and then I'm fully supported by God in doing that, and how by accepting where I am now, letting go of blame and projection, and just doing the work every day and just never ending. Like, I know I'm going somewhere really, really good, and it's nice to have that end in mind, and that end is so juicy and divine and real. Yeah.
The part about like doing the mirror exercise on every little things, or even the dumping your tuna salad by mistake, I feel is linked to the part of the sermon when they say, like, when Jason asked Chrissy, when do you do the mirror exercise? When do you know it's time to do it? And she says, like, whenever you feel bad. And I think that's what Ascension is like, not tolerating to feel bad in any kind of way or in any part. of our lives. And obviously, that's not something that we're perfect at from the get-go, but just having that in our vibration, like wanting, desiring to not feel bad in any way, is a cultural change and a consciousness shift in and of itself. And yeah, I feel it's powerful and it's intense. And that's why, yeah, even when you're upset about a tuna salad, you have to do a mirror exercise because it's important and it can lead you to something deep that you've never thought would be there. Because it's just an illustration. The external is just an illustration of your inner world, and God goes through hoops and very creative ways to like send us messages about like what we have to heal, and it trusts that we're like in tune with our emotions to receive his messages. And so yeah, that's why I really like the example about tuna salad. I think maybe I'm gonna write that somewhere and write my thoughts about it. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, there's never any need to feel bad in any way. You don't have to accept anything that's anything other than perfect. And it's easy to not notice these things. It's easy to let them slide because that's what we're used to. That's why it's a complete transformation in every area. And you become more discerning as you become more proficient in the mirror exercise. Not only do you notice the more and more subtle upsets, but the everyday ones that aren't that we've become numbed out to, that we become blind to. We begin to notice those more and more as well, and that really does accelerate the journey and deepen the healing at an exponential rate.
Yeah, and what's coming to me right now is from, I think it was Shaleia. It was an Ascension school class, and she was working with her teacher, and she had said how she was having an upset with her roommate, and she wanted to be upset with her roommate. And so she was like, I want to be upset with my roommate, like they did this or they did that. And I think that's coming to me now just because it's nice to know, like, even our teachers have gone through all of this, and like they've projected and they've blamed and they've chosen to heal that separation, and to be the examples for us to know that like this works. And yeah, I think her teacher said something like, I don't know exactly what she said, but basically it was like, come on, it's time for you to heal this, time for you to like get going and just like take responsibility. And obviously Shaleia did, and look where they are now. But it's nice to know that it's not that you're not bad or wrong for being in a pattern of projection or blame. It's just like an opportunity for you to heal and to make a different choice, and that choice will 100%, it's guaranteed to change your life as soon as you accept responsibility. It's literally that one choice that's going to change everything. And so yeah, I just had that come to me and thought it was a nice memory to have, and to see like where our teachers have come from and where they're bringing us to is that true place of peace and Christ consciousness, where we're all completely capable of going to and of healing our minds to. And yeah, it's really powerful to know that that they've been where we are, and that they're where they're at now, and that's exactly where they're leading us all. And they've given us everything that we need to get there. And with the mirror exercise, and with the Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover, the book, I'm totally going to be rereading that again soon. I'm really glad they focused on that today, and it's such a powerful book, and like they said, such a quick read that just has like everything you need in it. So it's really, really amazing to have such great leaders and to have people like who have done the work and proven to a T that it works and that it's bringing us to heaven, and that we can feel so safe in that, knowing and trust in them. And yeah, so that's what I had to say on that.
Awesome. Well, I do feel like it was a nice like closing thought about our discussion. I don't know how you feel, guys, but yeah, I feel like it's feeling pretty complete to me.
Me too. Feels good.
Yeah, I feel complete.
All right. Well, thank you. It was a really great discussion. And thank you to everyone who's watched us live from the Unionism Spiritual Discussion Group. And also to everyone who's watching us from YouTube, if you liked what you heard. And so don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, just like have a notification bell activated so you can see like all of our discussions and Sunday services and content from the Church of Union. And yeah, thank you and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.